Greetings! Welcome to the Devlog for Alpha 6 of Update 110 of Hot Dogs, Horseshoes, and Hand Grenades. We're going to start off as always with a quick sound check. Make sure speakers aren't up too high. Wonderful. So what have we got for you this week? Well, I have been continuing to refine and work on a whole bunch of the stuff that was added last week, which is our new operator Sigs and our new encryptions. So let's talk about our Sigs first, because there were a number of concerns as it related to this fella right here, which was that it was a little too invulnerable. And so I have made a number of changes. Actually, we're going to delete him because we're actually going to spawn him in a guard state here. And let's go ahead and get ourselves a ammo panel for testing. So there have been some changes that are specific to this Sig, and there are some changes that are general systemic ones about the AI. So the specific ones here are that some extra sort of weak points have been added to him. The first is that the visor right here in between...
They said. You'll be less of a dick, they said.
Right here in the visor is now a weak point. So if I strike this directly with API, helps to actually take it off safe. We will now get a direct penetration through the visor. Sorry, buddy. But as you can see, a single will not bring it down. It will usually take a second to actually deliver a killing strike. So this still rewards extreme accuracy of... Oh, he's like, what's going on with... He knows he's next. He knows he's next. You can calm down there, buddy. Full auto. Yup. Sorry about this. I feel bad. He knows it coming. We're just gonna... Yeah. Goodbye. There we go. Let's bring another one back in. Disabled. The rear leg armor now, the parts of him that are cloth, are now significantly more penetrable, way more likely to stagger, and way more likely to eventually cause a bleed out. Now, a number of folks rightly pointed out that it's all well and good that you can do that damage to the soft armor part of the Sig, but they tend to be looking at you directly forward most of the time in combat. And so that brings us to, let me get a non-penetrative weapon, a change that is pretty major, but I'm feeling good about. Yeah, let's just grab a 1014 here, which is that I've added a new type of damage that all Sigs can suffer. A lot of folks have pointed out that it feels sort of odd with a 12 gauge slug to strike an armored Sig and have nothing happen. Obviously, it shouldn't go through their armor, but something should actually happen to them. So what I've done is added what's called concussive damage. You can see briefly above the head, this particle effect appears. The Sig's disabled, so nothing has happened. The important thing to know is that this is the Sig's confused state. And so what this means, let's see if I can actually, if I delete that one, spawn him back in guard mode, like so. If memory serves in guard mode, let's see, can I grab him? Okay, we're not in taken hold, so I can grab him. But one of the things that concussed state allows is that when the Sig is in a confused state, you can grab them and do things like tear their heads off, break their necks, etc. And so this provides essentially several different new ways that you can deal with the heavy Sigs. You can concuss them, take them out in CQC, or you can concuss them, which tends to cause them to wander and not aim accurately, and then you can hit their weak points. So that should hopefully make him easier to deal with to an appropriate degree. I still want this to feel like a boss. I want it to feel like, oh goodness, one of these has entered the room. What am I supposed to do? But I want to make sure that with the appropriate armaments, more than just one class of weapon, there are multiple ways to deal with these, but that each time it happens, you are heavily stressed. The next set of things is that I have updated a number of our encryptions. I'm going to show you two of them now. The first is that our regenerative one here, let me give myself a fresh mag, has a different set of behaviors than before. I'm just going to spray this on full auto so you can see it in effect. So that was one mag, and you'll see, notice how it regenerates from the center first, then to there, and then one outer layer. In a sense, each cell can only regenerate when whatever its parent cell, i.e. the cell that is closer to the center, has regenerated. And what this means, I'm going to do this in semi, just to show how tenable this is, if you're really careful, although it does help to be really fast on a reload. Let's see if I can do this first. If we start with the center like so, and each time we see that center cell come back, we take it down, reload right after taking out the center cell, so it can't bring it back. Oh. There you have it. 2 30-round mags. I was able to get it down in one very careful 30-round mag earlier, but I knew I wasn't going to be able to on the Devlog. So this means that this target is no longer a just spray at it like mad as your only solution. Obviously, if you're coming in towards it with an M249 with 100 or 200 round capacity, you can just, fun switch at it to your heart's content. But even if you have something as diminutive as a single semi-auto pistol with a high capacity magazine, this should now be able to be brought down if you're careful about it, space your shots well, and time your reloads correctly, which is what I want out of it. I want it to be this sort of high skill thing that if you approach it haphazardly, you're not going to get it in time. But if you get your timing right, manage to keep attention towards it and deal with other targets around you, you should be able to bring it down. So yeah, cascading got a very simple change. This isn't done yet. I still think this needs a sort of capstone effect when you actually blow up the final targets on it. But you can basically see that these no longer split a second time. I love how the physics of their little explosions. Haha, it just deleted a cube. Knock other physics objects around. But yeah, nothing happens after you take out the last one, and that's kind of anticlimactic. So I need to actually get something in there, probably for next week. And then the last is our orthogonal, which is I've removed the recursive behavior on, so it no longer regenerates if you hit the wrong part of it, but instead, it rotates as it moves, which accomplishes several things. It both makes it more dynamic to deal with the threat of its lasers, but it also ensures that even if you're only engaging this from a single side, you will eventually, well, if you can hit them, you'll see all of the different pieces of it. Okay, that side's clear. Bam! Blew it apart. That needs a cooler particle effect for the explosion too. Shards are nice, but it needs a bigger boom. So yeah, there you go. There are the current changes to the encryptions. I'm curious. I'd love you folks to just try these out with a range of weapons, and especially if you're like, yo, if you're playing one of the standard progressions and you play with X pistol, this encryption is just a brick wall. I would like to know what it is, just in case that's unintentional. So yeah, that is all of those. And then just as a last little thing, we do have a few more cartridges that were added. I'm trying to remember them off the top of my head. We've got 6.5 by 52 Carcano in there. What a weird looking bullet. I just love that. Along with a new tracer to go with it. It is mostly worn off. There. Oh, what else do we have? I believe yes, the 7.92 by 33 Kurs, which is such a cute little bullet. These are all in the sort of category of older or antique rounds or uncommon, so they've just got this more aged patina to them that I just love. Oh, what was the other one off the top of my head? 7.92 by 57 Mauser, I think. Yep, that was the other one. They got it fresh. So we are just steaming through these cartridges. The bugs with the 5.8 and the 300 blackout have now been fixed with these as well. So I think we're past the 3/4 mark in terms of this ammo replacement project that has taken, I don't know, I think about as much time as I expected it to take, but absolutely worth it. It's just wonderful having significantly more realistic materials and primer dents and all of that on our ammunition. It's what the game deserved. So yeah, well, let's jump out of VR, talk about what else is coming up next. So out of VR, as I said, the concussive damage effect that I've added to all SOSIGs now could end up having some very wide-ranging effects here in terms of it might make certain SOSIGs a little bit too easy to deal with it. I'm a little bit worried about it in terms of some of the boss characters, like the flaccid snake bosses, so I might end up having to go in and either add a parameter or tweak an existing parameter to make them a little less prone to it. But given that it peaks in a sustained fire way at sort of 4 seconds of active suppression with them, I don't feel like this really necessarily breaks the game or breaks any of the high-level combat, considering that in a sense, it is engaging in situations where you aren't actually really causing damage to them in the first place. And so it's at best you buying yourself another couple seconds to breathe before actually delivering a strike. So while this may seem for a moment as like a nerf of the capability of the SOSIGs, I think it's one that is in a direction that is simply opening up other combat opportunities and other ways of dealing with threats. So, but I'd love to know try it out with the different take and hold characters and tell me if it works for you. It should, by the way, given that the SOSIGs tend to do the dumbest things when they're concussed. Like if you've ever seen one of the clips of a SOSIG just going like, and kind of flopping around and accidentally shooting itself with its gun, that was because it was in the confused state. So me adding this might have just been me taking the physical comedy slider of the enemies in the game and going like that. So please let me know what you think of that. I think it will fit. Cool. So talked about the cartridges, the encryption changes. The MTS 255 is now metadata associated with a speed loader, so it should come in and take and hold with a speed loader now instead of bare cartridges. And then I just fixed a couple other assorted little bugs with, some with ammo, some with missing trigger animation on the Tech 9, broken gun being vaulted, and things like that. Oh, and the orthogonal encryption should no longer get stuck as it's moving around. I had just done the math for that real the big dumb the first time implementing it, and then was like, oh yeah, that's why that's getting stuck. That's not correct at all. I'm amazed it worked at all in the first place. So, but yeah, in terms of what's coming up next, my goal with this is, especially if regenerative encryption works and if the concussive damage works, is I would like to get what is in here onto the main branch for a while, because the next rev of changes that I'm going to be making as I continue to develop the take and hold level institution are actual changes to take and hold gameplay logic that might break some mods if I'm not super careful, which means I kind of want to go back to an experimental branch and not assume that the game is mod safe again. And so I'm going to probably next week do a main branch release for update 110. and then following that, go back onto experimental so I can start tinkering. As I mentioned before, there's some things I want to do involving security and threat and such for Taken Hold, that to make the new level more interesting, that will be, especially once I talk with Nathan and he ends up updating the mod tools to accommodate it, will be things available to you modders if you want to make your Taken Hold map work like that. I don't want to permanently change any of the existing behavior. Those people have been playing Taken Hold for years. A lot of folks like it exactly as it is. And so all of the things that I'm going to be doing that are unique to this new level, to Institution, are a fork of behavior. They're not replacing anything about the way that Taken Hold works, but in a sense, they're a modal change in the way that Winter Wasteland has slightly different behavior in terms of how patrols work. This will be a similar fork that the game will sort of recognize, like, oh, the level is in this mode, and so it will behave particular ways. So yeah, but even though I'm doing it as a fork, and in practice, nothing should break the way a bunch of mods work involving code patching. Something might be implemented in a way that I'm not aware of, and so something unexpected might break. And so I want to make sure I'm doing these changes in the safest way possible, so I don't, break all you guys' game right in the middle of the summer, and screw up your ability to play it with your mods. So just trying to be as careful as possible about this process. It's Taken Hold at this point is sort of the most complex and wired into many systems game mode in the game. And so it is careful surgical work to do some changes to it. But this new level deserves it. The level's going to be awesome. Joe, our composer, has been working along on new music for the level, a bunch of which is actually reactive to where you are in the level. And I've been hearing the early demos of it from him. It's going to be incredible. I'm super jazzed. So, but I'll share a little musical tease once it's all been locked in for that. So anywho, I will cease my rambling. I hope you all have yourselves a wonderful weekend. Stay cool, and I'll see y'all next week. Peace.